Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of the saw restoration. Today we're going to work on getting the blade insert, zero clearance blade insert installed. We had to do a little bit of modification. I went ahead and was able to find one that was pretty close to this one. I believe this saw was actually a copy off of an old Delta contractor saw, so I did that and got the measurements to work. It's got a little tab on the back side of the insert that I had to grind out in order to try to get that to sit in there properly. So it took a little work with a Dremel. That keeps the saw keeps it down in place while you're running it. But it took a little time, but was able to get that in there and get it evened out. Went through a couple little Dremel blades, but eventually was able to get it to the point where I could get it in there, get it tight, get it fitted, and then if I want to build my own later, I can. I just didn't have any stock that I wanted to use to get it to work, so we just decided it was easier to do this, at least because I had no pattern also. So, but just kind of leveling it out here with a straight edge, trying to get it even, and yeah, worked out pretty well. It stays in there nice and tight, and it should work out well. So one of the next things now is to get a blade in there and get that first cut through. I did not have a smaller blade, as the blade actually is on this saw, when it's in the fully retracted position, is just proud of the top of the table, which I wish it was a little bit more. But so I'm trying to get through the zero clearance. It's hold it up. Wouldn't have been safe to do that. So what I did was just stick it in here, and I'm just running the saw slowly by hand and notching out. Basically cutting it by hand. And if I had a smaller blade, I would have put that in there and done it that way, but I didn't, so we just ran it a little bit by hand, and to the point where I could get it down, all the way down, flush, and then from that point, then I could slide my fence over and actually make that cut. So the next thing is to making sure that the blade and trunnion assembly are all aligned with the miter gauge. One of the things I've already done on here, when I had the saw completely apart, I did replace bearings on this. They were dry and not in terrible shape, but having it apart, it made it a lot easier just to do that. So did that, and then I've got a dial indicator mounted onto the miter gauge, so I can slide it back and forth. I know they make other ways of doing this, but this seemed to work out pretty well. And after spending a little bit of time and adjusting back and forth the 4 nuts and getting it to alignment, I was able to get it actually almost dead on. I know some people will leave it a little bit wide on the back to stop binding when you're off from your fence, but I was able to get it pretty much dead on, and took a little bit of time, but there you can see it's pretty much within a thousandth of an inch. So I'm going to call that good and go from there. So the last part of this video, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, is building the case. It's a pretty simple case work, using, I bought pre-finished birch plywood, Baltic birch. It's about $4 a sheet more finished than it is unfinished, and it's not. I'm not real happy with some of the veneer on it. It wants to peel up, but for what I'm doing here and an extra couple bucks a sheet, made it nice to just be able to cut it, and once I'm done, I don't have to go back and refinish or paint or do anything like that. So I'm not going to spend, like I said, a whole lot of time, but we're going to knock down the sheet goods, build up the case, and next time we'll get into some ducts collection and a few other things, and actually getting the saw mounted onto its base. We'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.